Man City are going to win the SEPTUPLE next season, a 7-trophy season. They're going to win the Quadruple, winning in all 4 major competitions. As far as the Quadruple goes, there are teams that have won 4 trophies before, but the true Quadruple is when the club wins all 4 of the major trophies. A quadruple doesn't necessarily mean 4 trophies. Quadruple, 4 trophies, yes. But then there's trophies like the FIFA Club World Cup and the Super Cup that are just really minor trophies. So looking at it, there's only one club that has achieved the real quadruple. No team in the top 5 European leagues has won the true quadruple, although many clubs have won 4 titles in a season. As you see, it is all domestic. Bayern, that 4th trophy is just the Club World Cup. 2019-2020 was a sextuple like Barcelona, but this here was the treble in the Club World Cup. There wasn't a German League Cup. With Real Madrid, it was the Spanish Super Cup and the Club World Cup. PSG was just the Mickey Mouse domestic quadruple. They didn't win Champions League. Bayern Munich, it was a Super Cup, and then the Bundesliga, the DFK Pokal, they didn't have a League Cup. They had no League Cup in Germany. All they had was the Super Cup. Barcelona, no Champions League that year. It was just all Super Cup, Club World Cup, Real Madrid Club World Cup, no Copa del Rey. So the only club to achieve the true quadruple was 1966-67 Celtic. And when we see this happen again, it is gonna happen after 68 prior Champions Leagues. For Celtic, what the year 67 represents is the fact that when City do win the SEPTUPLE, it will be a total of 67 matches. The Community Shield, the UEFA Super Cup, the Premier League, the EFL Cup, the FA Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup, and the Champions League. That's a total of 67 matches. And it is Manchester City. They'll be the first club to win back-to-back Champions Leagues since Real Madrid did so when they won a three-peat back in 2018. They defeated Liverpool that year. In Gematria, they defeated Liverpool at Kiev to win back-to-back in 2018. Kiev is Gematria of the 67 matches that Man City are going to play this year when they do achieve the SEPTUPLE 7-trophy season. We see the second true quadruple league title, European Cup, the domestic cup, and the domestic league cup. It is Manchester City. They're going to win all 4 in addition to the UEFA Super Cup, the FIFA Club World Cup, and the Community Shield. And we see this accomplishment happen 57 years after 1967. 57 is the gematria of the site of the Champions League final for next year. 57 years later, it is Manchester City. They're going to be the next team to win the true quadruple. 57 years later. England is gematria 57. City is 57. Perfection. Man City goes 7 for 7. They achieve perfection 57 years after Celtic won all 5 trophies in their 1966-67 campaign. So the 1966-67 Celtic was a perfect season. Celtic won all 5 competitions. The Scottish League, the Scottish Cup, the Scottish League Cup, the European Cup, and the Glasgow Cup. They went 5 for 5 that year, Celtic, achieving this Quintuple is what you call it. Celtic win 5 trophies that season, and then Man City wins 7 trophies in one season, 57 years later from 1967 and 2024. England is hosting the final at Wembley at London. England is 57, City is 57, Perfection is 57. 57 years later, we see the next real quadruple. The septuple is Gematria of 147. Pep Guardiola, 14 trophies with City, is going to win 7 more to have 21 trophies. City is Gematria 21. Abu Dhabi, the owners of Man City, has Gematria of the septuple. Which, speaking of the septuple, Mikel Arteta is going to lose his 48th match against Man City, going for the septuple when Arsenal lose the Community Shield. It is Sevilla that's going to lose their 65th European match against Erling Haaland and Josep Guardiola. They're at 64 losses right now in European competitions in their history in European football, Sevilla, because Man City is 64 in Gematria. Real Madrid won the last back-to-back when they won the three-peat. They had 148 goals that season. Again, in Gematria, it's the quadruple. That's 148 and 58. We see this happen for the next back-to-back since Real Madrid Club de Football is Gematria 58. The team that won the last final at London in the Champions League, 2012, 2013, Bayern, for the season that year, going to their chart right here, again, 46 wins for the season. Man City, the septuple is going to happen for their 46th trophy. 118 goal differential when they won the final at London at Wembley. Man City are the real Invincibles. They now have surpassed the history of Man United's treble. Now they're going to surpass Arsenal's history with the Premier League Invincibles. Pep Guardiola achieves history with his 42nd trophy as a manager outside of Barcelona B. History is 114, septuple 114. That Real Madrid team that year, that was their 114th season in existence. Guardiola's 43, quadruple 43, Manchester 43, champion is 43. Kiev is Gematria 67. That was the last back-to-back. And Celtic, they did win their Quintuple in addition to the European Cup in the year 67. 67 matches for Man City this upcoming season. Invincibles is Gematria of 118. Man City are going to become the Invincibles with Coach Guardiola. Coach Guardiola, 118. Manchester City and Coach Guardiola have Gematria 64. Coach Guardiola coaches Manchester City. Celtic won the quadruple, the quintuple, over at Lisbon, Portugal, when they defeated Inter Milan. Now, this is going to directly tie into Man City winning the repeat. Celtic, they won the quintuple when it beat Inter Milan in 1967. Man City are coming off the victory against Inter in the Champions League final. It all has to do with the next quadruple in club football. Wembley Stadium 55, the Citizens 55, Invincibles 55. Now, Lisbon, Portugal was where Celtic defeated Inter when they achieved the quintuple. We see the quadruple happen for Manchester City ever since Celtic did so at Lisbon, Portugal. That's kind of the gematric interpretation of 64 in relation to all this. Invincibles by itself is Gematria of 151, the Invincibles, which obviously that's why Man City begins against Arsenal having Gematria 70. The Invincibles is 151. Bayern, they scored 151 goals in the campaign that concluded over at Wembley. Their 31st goal in the Champions League to win the final at Wembley back in 2013. Wembley 31. Man City are going to win the next Champions League. Man City, Gematria 85 and 31. 128 prior seasons for Manchester City. The greatest, Gematria of 128. Man City had 61 matches last year in 22-23. In 23-24, they'll have 67. Man City are the greatest team ever. 128 matches across the two seasons, 22-23 and 23-24. The greatest football team ever this year in the Champions League. This upcoming year is going to be the 32nd year of the Champions League since it was renamed from the European Cup. At 23-24, this is 22-23. Man City are about to be the greatest team ever 95 months after Pep Guardiola became manager of Manchester City. So what we get, Guardiola became manager on July the 1st of 2016, and Man City officially become the greatest 95 months later. This would be June the 1st of the Champions League final for next season. 95 months later, Man City are the greatest team ever in the history of the world. 151 goals for Bayern Munich when they won the last final at Wembley. Man City, they also scored 151 goals last year. The amount of time from Real Madrid's back-to-back-to-back to June the 1st of 2024 is 6 years and 6 days. That's the Gematria of Inter when we saw the last quadruple when Celtic defeated Inter. Interesting that Celtic is a 25, Celtic is 52, and then it's Inter Milan that's Gematria 52. Also, Liverpool was the last back-to-back-to-back. The last back-to-back period. It doesn't have to be the 3P. It's just from 2017 final to the 2018 final. So interesting Gematria right there, but. A title is going to happen 6 years, 6 months later. The final at Wembley. Tommy Grammo scored after 63 minutes in the final against Inter. When Man City win the quadruple, it'd be 63 matches across those 4 competitions. The Champions League, the FA Cup, the Premier League, and the EFL Cup. Celtic FC is Gematria of 34. The last back-to-back we saw over at Ukraine in 2018. Kiev, Ukraine, 56 full years in between 1967 and then 2024. So we are, and it's going to be a 7-trophy season for City when Inter scored. There's a 7th-minute penalty. Let's see. Stevie Chalmers was the goal scorer for Manchester City when they achieved the Quintuple. Chalmers is also Gematria 79-34. 34 directly ties into the last back-to-back of the UEFA Champions League. So keep that in mind. Internazionale is Gematria of 163. 163 is Gematria of Manchester City. So Inter, they fell to Celtic when they made history. Man City just defeated Internazionale in the final this year. They're ready to make history sometime later. It's going to be a back-to-back. It's going to be a SEPTUPLE, a 7-trophy season for Manchester City when they win next year's UEFA Champions League. They're going to win all 3 trophies. This is the greatest football team ever in the world. Kiev is 22nd consecutive season in the top flight of English football. You know how the Masons are with 13th consecutive season in the Champions League, 2 titles. Their 13th consecutive season in the Champions League, 213, which is Borussia Dortmund. Borussia Dortmund did make it to the last final at London. 2 Champions League titles and 13 seasons in the competition. Joseph Guardiola Salah is also Gematria 69. Joseph Guardiola by itself is just Gematria of 63 matches across all the 4 competitions for the Quadruple, not including the Community Shield or the FIFA World Cup and the UEFA Super Cup. Now, interesting how this 63 ties in the Pep Guardiola. His place of birth is Sant Pedor, Spain. Sant Pedor, Spain is Gematria 63 as well. So Man City are going to be making history. The 23-24 season adds up to 67 matches. The Quintuple in 1967. So this is the distinction you have to make. The Quadruple is winning all 4 major trophies. That's exactly what Manchester City are going to do, plus some more. This is going to be filled with gold by next year. 2 quick trophies right off the bat. The Community Shield and the Super Cup. Don't get to December. They're going to win this one. Then it's 3 and then 4. The Quadruple is on. Man City going to win all 7 trophies. All 7. They will win all 7 trophies.